Yes. Hello, world. Welcome to the React and CSS-in-JS Libraries live stream. I'm here with Pritish, and we are going to have a workshop on the topic mentioned. This is a follow-up to the workshop we had last week, which was on Vue. So, after getting a glimpse of how the Vue framework works, we are going to see the differences between Vue and React, and we are going to get to know about React from someone who has used it for a very long time, which is Pritish. Welcome, Pritish. Please go ahead.
Hello, people. Uh, how are you doing? Okay, so cool. Let's start. I guess sure. Okay, we should start now. I guess so. Uh, Hello, folks. Myself, Pritish. First of all, Happy Republic Day to one and all watching this stream. And let me go ahead and give a short introduction of mine. Myself, Pritish. I'm a junior year student from NIT Rourkela. Uh, my interest mainly lies in full stack development and cloud computing side of things. Also, more into the community side of things. As you can see, I'm also a GitHub campus expert for from NIT Rourkela. Uh, and also uh, today as I've seen, today's topic is a beginner's guide to React and CSS in JS libraries. So uh, let's get started without any further ado. um, Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, Param, can you just confirm if my screen is visible or not?
Yes, it is visible.
Cool. Thank you so much. So, uh, Before starting, I would just like to say that I'm very bad at making presentations. So I tried my best, but I at least I tried. Okay. So yeah, let's get started. So today's topic will be a beginner's guide to React and CSS in JS libraries, and will be mainly focusing on you can find multiple CSS and JS libraries, but most importantly we'll be focusing on the style components library, which is one of a type of CSS and JS libraries. We'll be talking about what CSS and JS libraries exactly mean later. As I said, myself Pritish Samal, I'm from National Institute of Technology, Rourkela, and I have also linked all my social handles like GitHub, Twitter, and my portfolio website link below, so you can check that out. Uh, cool. Let's get started. So, what is React? If you are into open source, you can that there are several open source projects such as Git, VLC, Media Player, Kubernetes, Docker, etc. So in similar way, React is also an open source JavaScript library that is used for building interfaces specifically for single page applications. So I would say it's one of the most popular JavaScript framework, the front end JavaScript framework, which is used by I would say a huge number of people from all over the world. Uh, so coming into the history of React. React was like first created by Jordan Walk, who was like was a software engineer at Meta, formerly known as Facebook, and this project is also like the React.js project is also currently maintained by software developers at Meta. Um, so the first, like, React went into limelight in 2011 in Facebook's newsfeed, and later on in 2012 in it was used in Instagram. So React allows developers to create large web application that can change data without reloading the page. So this is one of the feature, I would say, of React. One of the important feature of React which makes it unique from other JavaScript frameworks like Angular or Vue. Svelte is also new to the market. So yeah. So before, like, you jump on to learning React, there are some prerequisites that you need to know. So the first one would be you should have a ma- moderate level of understanding in HTML and CSS, because React is a front end library, and for front end developers, HTML and CSS is a must. So uh, you have to have idea about HTML and CSS. Also, JavaScript is the most important prerequisite, I would say. It's okay, like, you don't have to be a master in JavaScript, but y- just get a strong hold in the fundamentals of JavaScript. I would say, like, how to handle arrays, loops, variables, and ES6 and ES7 concepts. So there's a saying that the more you get better in JavaScript, the better you get in React. So uh, ke- I would I would suggest keep your JavaScript concept strong, so that will help you to get a better understanding in React. So these two are the main prerequisites, and the other thing that you need to have in your local system to set up your development environment is Node and npm or Yarn. So npm or Yarn are basically package managers. Npm stands for Node Package Manager, and Yarn is also a similar kind of package manager. I personally use Yarn because it's a bit faster, but you can also use npm. And the last prerequisite, I would say, it's not exactly a prerequisite, but it's better that you know the concept of Git and GitHub, because that would help you to actually, like, collaborate on projects. So uh, it's okay while you are at the learning stage, you build your personal projects or the pet projects, you might say. But after a certain level, you get on to work on projects on a team. So while you are on a team, you required to have an understanding of Git and GitHub to collaborate, like, so that you can collaborate on projects. So yeah, it's optional, but it's recommended. Cool. Let's go on to the next slide. So why choose React? Uh, yeah, this question, like, whenever a front-end developer finishes HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, he or she might have the question which JavaScript framework to choose, because there are tons of JavaScript frameworks like Angular, Vue, Svelte, React, and many more. So I haven't tried other frameworks, but I can say why you should choose React. The first one is uh, let me take a look at the chat quickly. Okay, cool. Hmm. So the first reason why you should choose React is because React has a strong community. Strong community in the sense it has a large population of people who are actually using React for their, like, to build their front end applications. So it becomes easier for you to debug issues like whenever you come across a bug or an issue, it's most likely that someone else has also encountered that issue in the past, and he or she might have left a solution over the internet. So it becomes easier for you, and it also saves your time. So that's why I would say like React has a really strong community. That's one of the important features. Second feature is virtual DOM. So let me tell you in brief now. We'll be covering about that in detail later on. So virtual, like React has a feature like it provides us a virtual DOM. So what it does is whenever something like in a dynamic website, whenever get something in the website gets changed, you feel like the whole web page is like gets reloaded. But in reality, what React does is it just reloads that particular part of the website which needs to be reloaded, and rest of the website remains static as it is. So that makes like in terms of performance, that is I would say it enhances the performance of the web applications. So that this is basically what is called as the virtual DOM, which React provides inbuilt feature. After that, we have reusable components. So this is the best feature because of which React is chosen by most of the people or most of the developers. So what reusable components is will be like I'll be showing an example later on, but just to brief you about this, reusable components are the component is basically a function which in React which does something like which does some function like how can I say it? Um, it does a task. So components are just a function which does a specific task provided to it. So what React provides is you can reuse the component. So with the help of props and states, you can reuse those components. So I know this like the terminologies might sound alien to you, but uh, like do not worry, we'll be covering all those later on. So React provides the feature of reusable components. So you just make one component and you reuse it for multiple times instead of writing the code again and again. So that was it about the reusable component. Now coming to the performance. So since it provides virtual DOM as one of its feature, and it comes with many more incredible features, thus it also helps to boost your website's performance. So that is also a big plus point why you should choose React. Also, it is SEO friendly. So if you have seen like suppose you search some random thing on Google and like when you click search, you basically get a list of search results. So those search results are basically listed in the order of their search engine optimization. So the more your website's SEO is, the higher the chances that users might come across your website when they search for the uh, related topic. So it's also good, like React is also good in terms of SEO friendly and flexibility. Since it's JavaScript, we all know how much flexibility JavaScript provides. But in React, like React is built on top of JavaScript. It's basically a JavaScript framework. So the flexibility provided by React is unmatchable, I would say. uh, we'll be like going through some examples, but as of now, yeah, it provides really great flexibility. So just some insights on some famous websites that uses React. The first one is Meta, which is formerly known as Facebook, and Instagram, Netflix, Airbnb, Atlassian, Dropbox, PayPal, OkCupid, Salesforce, Uber. So these all websites are built on top of built using React. These are these are few websites that I have listed here, but it is an never-ending list. So yeah, a hell lot of websites use React in today's date. So yep. Okay, so what shall we learn today? We will be learning what exactly is JSX, Babel, components, props, states, hooks, and stuff. So we'll be learning it on the we'll be learning these concepts by actually building something. So I would say let's move on to some practical thing, like enough of the theory and stuff. Let's get practical and see some actual use cases of React. Mm, so okay, so here I have in the presentation, I have linked a great article by Free Code Camp, which would help you to set up React locally. Uh, because the prerequisite, as I said, to set up your local environment in order to use React is basically you have to have Node installed in your system, as well as the a package manager, basically. Uh, Either npm or yarn, or there's a new package manager known as pnpm, which Siddharth told me a couple of days ago. So that's also great. So anyone would works, you just have to have a package manager installed. uh, so I'll be okay, let me drop this in the chat. So this is the link to the website where it has a detailed explanation of how to set up uh, local dev environment for React. So after that, uh, since most of you might not have the prerequisites required to set up a local dev environment, that's absolutely no problem, because we'll be using something called as Code Sandbox. So Code Sandbox is an online code editor through which you can basically test out React and actually build applications and test them out. So it's a great platform to uh, build applications using React or JavaScript and stuff. So we'll be coding in this online editor as of now. But if you want to set up your local environment, feel free to do so. You can just after installing Node and npm, because also need npx, but but okay, uh, chat section. Okay, cool. So you can you also need npx, which is basically like npm is a node package manager, but npx is node package executable. So uh, you also need that in order to what do you say, initialize a React application. Because to initialize a React application, you need to run this command npx create React app, and your application name may be anything. Here I've given my app, but it depends on you. So this is the command that you need to type. So in order to have in order to run this command successfully, you need to have npx installed. But uh, in the higher versions of npm, that is npm 5.0 onwards, like if you install npm, npx comes with it too. It gets installed automatically, so you don't have to install it separately. So that was about your local dev environment for React development. Now let's get started with some practical stuff. So for people like watching the stream right now, I would like to ask what type of uh, project. Like I have basically thought of some fun projects. One is to have a recipe manual, or the second one would be to have a memes website. So you can choose any one. We'll be moving ahead with it. So let me know in the chat which one should we go ahead with. Uh, Uh, so we have you have two choices. One is the recipe main manual as well as the memes website. So just let me know in the chat which one would you like me to go ahead with. Let me look in the chat once. Okay, Sanjog, I have linked all the resources in my presentation, and I'll be sending the link to the presentation sooner, so you can check out all the resources. These are really awesome. Uh, okay, Sanjog said memes website. Cool. Any more?
I think both of them are so tempting, people are wondering what to say.
For sure. Uh, But yeah, anyone would go for memes, but I'm also a big foodie, so personally can't actually like decide which one to go ahead with. But yeah, I would let the chat decide. So we have got one vote for memes website. I think we should go ahead with the memes website. Cool. So I'm discarding the recipe manual, unfortunately. Okay, bye bye recipe. Okay, so we have one winner, that is the memes website. So for that, what we'll be having is basically we'll be using a free API to fetch uh, memes. Then we'll be building React components to render the memes from the API response, and then we'll be basically displaying the memes in the website. After that, we'll be using styled components to s- style the React components. After that, we'll be having our memes website up and running. Beautiful memes website. Cool. So these all like we're going to do all this stuff. So let's get started. Um, so first of all, when you like start learning React, the first concept that you will come across is what is JSX. So, what is JSX? JSX is nothing but I would say the HTML with some added functionalities. Like it is not essentially as HTML, but it sure looks like HTML. So JSX stands for JavaScript XML, and it allows us to write HTML in React. Uh, So JSX is a way through which we can actually tell React to render the type of elements that we want. So it's for now we you can basically say we'll be writing HTML, and the same HTML is called as JSX. Uh, Let me see if I'm missing something. Yeah. So, uh, before diving into the code, let me tell you a bit more about JSX. So, there's something which React uses that is known as Babel. So, just a minute. Um, cool. We don't have anything in the chat. Cool. We are good to go. So, Babel is basically a transpiler which converts the JSX to vanilla JavaScript, because JSX is not essentially HTML. You like it is a means to tell React what type of element you want to display in the website. So, what React does in the hood is like it actually converts the like using this thing called as Babel. It actually converts the JSX to JavaScript, which like if you have heard about DOM manipulation, so that JavaScript will basically manipulate the DOM. So Babel is the mm, I uh, I would like to say it as a middleware which converts the JSX stuff to JavaScript. So let me show you an example. Here we have like in the left side of this code editor, will be writing simple HTML, but these are actually JSX. So the left side will be a JSX editor, and the right side will be how React converts that JSX to uh, I would say the vanilla JavaScript. So you can see you have heard of divs, right? So if I write div with the opening and closing tag, then this uh, like we simply write div like this, and inside it we write hello world. Okay, let's change it to h1 tag and h1 tag. Cool. So this basically will print hello world in H1 form. So we write simply like this in while coding in React. So this is basically JSX, but under the hood, what React does is it converts this stuff to something like this. So it invokes the react.create element function, where it passes h1 as the element type, and null as one parameter, and after that what's inside that we have hello world. So it passes that. So under the hood, React does this conversion. So you can see how simple it makes for users to code in React. uh, think of this feature as one of the like top feature of React, which makes it developer friendly. Um, so you don't have to write this everywhere. Like whenever you want to create a h1 element, you don't have to write this. You simply write in terms of HTML, plain HTML, which is by the way JSX syntax, and React under the hood converts it to this JavaScript function. So that was all about JSX. I hope you have a clear understanding of uh, what JSX is now. Uh, cool. In the chat section, HTML plus CSS plus JSS equal to JSX. Okay. Yeah, that's a great definition, Param. Thank you so much. So that was JSX. Now let us jump into, we covered JSX, we covered Babel. Now we have uh, Hmm. Then let's move on to the components. So here now you can see, let us go through the project structure first, because whenever you as I said right now, like a couple of moments before, that if you have to initialize a React application locally, then you have to execute this command npx create a React app, your app name, that is, I have given you my app. So this will basically initialize an empty React project with all the boilerplate code. So after executing this command, you're like locally you should be able to see something like this. Okay, never mind. Like, let me actually do and show it to you. So let me go to documents. Documents, let me make a directory. I guess it will be looking little bit small. So let me make mkdir React. So you can see we have React folder here, and let's cd into React, and here let me initialize an empty project, that is npx create a React app, my app. And then also, like, you can also add a like optional flag, that is, that's just template. And React by default provides some type of templates like the CRA template PWA, which you can see here right now. This is the basic boilerplate template. And if you want to initialize a React project with TypeScript, then you have to like, there's also another value here which you can pass to initialize an empty boilerplate project with TypeScript. So right now I'm going ahead with the simple JavaScript boilerplate React project. So when you execute this command, you can see it will take some time. Um, let me let us just wait. Uh, um, so meanwhile, like, it will install. It will take some time, maybe 1 to 2 minutes to initialize the project. So meanwhile, we can go ahead with the directory structure. So in the public directory, you can see index.html, which we won't be dealing with this file, because everything we need to do, like we need to change, will be inside the src directory, because that's where all your code logic as well as the UI stuff goes into. Um, uh, yeah. So this is the index.html. So after, like, in the src directory, if you can see index.js, then you can see what we do here is, we basically, app is a component. So talking about components, so we have app here, like app.js we have here as a component. So we are basically rendering that component by finding, like, if you know, if you've heard of the DOM manipulation, the document object model, then in order to manipulate it, you have to get that element. So in order to get the element, you have to uh, invoke these functions: get element by id, get element by class, and stuff. So here you are just fetching the element with an id root. So in the index.html, you can see a div here, empty div with an id root. So all are like, uh, everything, like all the components that we make inside the src directory, we can render all those in app.js, which essentially will be rendered inside this div. So you might think like we have routing in React, so how like we have multiple pages too. So the thing is, if you see the here, I have showed you one term that is uh, that is, um, okay, here. React.js is an open source JavaScript library that is used for building user interfaces specifically for page applications. So, single page applications, which is otherwise known as SPA. So, we essentially like a question might arise that we might see like the websites that is using React, like Netflix or Facebook or Instagram. So they're having multiple pages. So why does React say that it is used for making single page application? Because essentially you will be okay uh, so essentially you will be rendering all the components inside this div itself. So in reality it is just a single page application, but we are like React provide features to make it look like we are having a multiple page application by the help of React router or routing services basically. So that was about index.html and index.js. So here app.js is basically component which we're going to talk about in detail now. But before that, we have our like the empty boilerplate repository, like the project initialized. So let me cd into my app, and if you see here ls.a ls dash h, so here you can see node modules which we'll talk about this a bit later. So as of now I have shown you like in the code sandbox, for example, we have a public directory, an src directory, and a package.json. So here also we have a public directory, an src directory, as well as like package.json, package log.json, because it used npm. If you give a flag, I don't actually remember which flag it is. So if we give that flag while initializing, it will use yarn also. So you'll be having a yarn log.json. So you basically have everything. Same thing which you have in code sandbox. Dot git folder is basically to track your local git, and git ignore is to uh, ignore the directory. So this is common in all the development frameworks. So uh, you basically know what git ignore does. So I would go to the public directory. No. See, and if you do ls dash a, we have some extra files, that is the service worker, some in like pre-written test report, web vitals. Web vitals are basically the performance, accessibility, and other type of what do I say, the statistics which you take into consideration for your like improving the improving your quality of the website. So these things do that. It's completely optional, because for beginners you can just start with app.js and index.js. So it's pretty much the same. uh, since we will be using the online editor, I'll be exiting that. Just a minute. Yeah. Um, cool. So coming on to components. So components, how can I say? Components are basically, you can say, the uh, it is. basically type of function which allows you to render stuff in your website. So for example, if you have a website, let's say let us take any website. Uh, why is it hard for me to take websites? Okay, so we have YouTube here, and you can see this completely is a website. But we can actually divide this website into subparts and then develop it. Like, suppose if you were to develop a website like YouTube, then you can, like, what you can do is you can, like, while developing, you can divide the whole website into smaller components, and then you start developing it. So for example, you take the navbar as one part and this sidebar as one part, and then these video what do I say, the previews as one part. So, and these chips also as one part. So what we can do is we can, like, uh, differentiate p- these parts in React as individual components, so that would make our work easier, because you don't have to code the complete website in a single part, like in a single place. You can divide it, and what can I say, the you can handle their logic as well as UI part separately. So suppose you are making the navbar component, so you make a different component for navbar, and there you handle its UI as well as logic separately, separate from the complete website. And then after the navbar is developed, you just import it into the main component, and there you just render this navbar component. So that's what basically components are. So I'm going to create a directory here named components, and uh, here I'll be doing mm, meme card.jsx. So uh, like you can see components with extension .js as well as .jsx, and just for your information, both of them works the same. There's no difference in both of them. You can either use .jsx extension or .js extension as well, but according to the convention, where you have the actual UI part in the like if you have the UI part in the component, you give an extension of .jsx. But if you have some logic part in the file, then you give an extension of .js. So that's how you, like, that's a convention basically, but both of them works fine. So moving forward, we'll be using public API. APIs are, like, you can get many public APIs of memes. So out of that, I'll be using this IMG Flip API, basically to retrieve the what do you say, to fetch the memes and render them in the website. So for that, I'll be like, okay, so what is the use of components? So components, like for example, here memecard.jsx is a component. So let us write. So you import React, and then it's basically like a normal component. If you have studied the ES6 concepts of JavaScript, then you have studied about the uh, arrow functions. So you can, like, you have to make a function basically. So you can make an arrow function or a regular function. Both of them works. So I'm going ahead with an arrow function. So main card equals So this is the function, and here we'll be returning what's essentially called as what do I say, the UI part. So in the return, you can return only one element. So here I'm, as of now, I'm going to return an h1 element with hello world, and then we are gonna export this component, export import. So basically, in order to use this component inside some other component, you have to export them. So um, let me make some space here. And so as you can see, I have a sample component ready here. In order to use this in app.js, what you have to do is you import that component. So there are two type of components, like two type of exports. One is the default export, and the other one can be a named export. So that's slightly different way of exporting elements. So you can like you suppose if you have multiple components in inside the component directory. Here I have exported meme card as default, but if you were to export this as a named export, then you can make another file known as index.js, and inside that you can export that, and here you can import it as a name export. So named exports you can import it by like using curly brackets and writing the name of the component there. I'll be showing that too, but just now import from component slash meme card. So this is what we call as the default export. But if you were to use the named export, then you can do like this index.js, and here I can write export export meme card. I might be doing slash card. So we have here, and let's comment out this one, and import dot slash components, and here we can write meme card. Yeah. So this is what we call as a named export. So here you can see the difference. Here we are directly, like instead of meme card, we can give any random like in case of default export, we can import it in the name of any random name. Not necessarily it has to be name card, meme card, but we can give it as xyz. But okay, so yeah, that's the difference between named exports and the default exports. So as of now we are going to use the default export, so I'm going to delete the named export, and I'm going to uncomment this one. And here if you just render it by meme card, yeah, this is how you render app. Then you can see here hello world. So this is what we call as a component. So instead of this you could have also written h1 here itself. uh, h1, how are you doing? So this also works fine, but this is good in terms of like smaller components. But if you have a large component and you have to reuse it, then it's better you make a component and then import it. So that's the like feature, great feature provided by React. So yeah, that's the like benefit of using components. So You can use, like, you can make reusable components by what do you say, by passing props and states, so that makes the component reusable. Just After a couple of minutes we'll be moving on to the props thing. So let us delete this one, and here's the meme card.jsx, and uh, so we will be uh, cool. So let us call the uh, API and fetch the data first. So after we fetch the data, we can render it in the website. Just let me take a look at the chat section. In CSS and JS and using dedicated CSS, what are the pros and cons of both? Okay, the pros and cons of both is like the CSS or the SCSS file are the global styles wherever you put them. If you put them inside a component or inside the src directory, it will always point to the global styles. But css and js libraries give us the uh, feature to actually implement component level styling. So suppose you have this memecard.jsx component. So if you use css and js libraries in memecard.jsx, so those styles will only be implemented inside the memecard.jsx component, and it won't be a global kind of thing. So that is the pros, because in React you have the components, like you have the component structure, and what do you say, you keep the logic part of, like, you basically you divide the whole website into smaller parts and you deal with them separately. So you deal with their logic as well as the styles separately. So for that I think, like, css and js libraries are better because it provides a component level styling instead of global level. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Let's use the API to um, fetch data. I would use state and use effect. So these things are again new. So use state and use effect. So first of all, the thing is state. Um, okay, let me give an example of what state is. So you can say state like allows us to manage the changing data in an application. For example, it can be defined as an object where we define key value pairs specifying various data we want to uh, track in the application. So that's what the work of state. But to be more practical, we can, like, I can show you an example real quick. uh, um, Suppose we have a button component here, and here I have increase. Okay, and we have uh, hmm, okay, not here. The best place to deal with this is, let's go to the index.js. Here we can actually define better. Let me delete the strict mode. And so here, as you can see, we have an empty app component, because in app we actually don't have anything. I've commented out the meme card. So here, let me, instead of the app component, uh, let me give a dummy element, like empty element, and here let me do button and increase. So we have a button here called increase. It currently like doesn't do anything, just a dummy element. So let me do a variable at count equals to 0. So I want a functionality where if I click this button, our counter will increase. So ideally what you should do is like you add a on click event listener to the button and pass it a callback handle click, and let's make a handle click function. So we have a handle click function, and whenever like we click the button, the handle click event, like the on click event listener fires, and uh, the handle click will be invoked. So whenever the handle click is invoked, we want it to do count plus plus. Uh, is this let count number count is declared, but its value is never read. What I'm using its value. Um, plus plus. Well, I think there's some issue with it, but yeah, let's go. So after that, we can basically we can print the numbers. So let's do a p tag and let me print count. So JSX also provides this functionality where you can basically yeah where you can basically print like you can have JavaScript inside HTML. So that's one of the other flexibility we get in React. So let's make it a div. Um,
I think the p tag is not closed. Maybe that's why.
oh, thank you so much. Okay, div also we closed it in a wrong way. Yay, we have a counter. So ideally, like when I click on the counter should increase, right? So I'm clicking it, but as you can see, the value is still 0. It's not updating. So the reason why like this happens is because we are see the React DOM dot render is basically it renders this div once, only once. So in the starting only it renders this div and like this element, and after that it doesn't update it. So this is the main reason why React has the state feature in it. So as you can see, like we are not able to update the counter. um so yeah, that was the reason. Now if we use state, so let's so in order to use state, you need to use the use state hook from React. Okay, we have the use state hook, and let me initialize a state. Um, so this is the way you initialize a state. Uh, 0, and here you basically destructure it like the use state hook, because use state is a function and it returns two values. So one will be like we decide the value. So one will be count and one will be the set count. So set count is used to update the state, and count is used to, like, count is the state basically. So we have here count, set count, and when the handle click like the on click event listener is triggered, we can use set count to count plus plus count plus plus, and hmm, yes, and React and the render we might be breaking the rules on set count. Hmm. Oh, strange.
I think it's doing that because we are doing it globally. So maybe we need to do that inside inside the function of a component.
Mm, I don't really think that's the problem. But yeah, let's do it in the app.js. Um, import effect, and let's take this to on and event listener here, and then we take this dev and we can this and uh, this is our index.js. Cool, and here we are to in the return. Okay, cool. We have the same thing now, which we have written in the index.js. Let's see if it works. Uh, Seeing the code. Hello, am I still connected?
Yes, you are.
Oh, cool. Okay, here you can see, like, after using the state, like after using the data in inside state, we can able to actually, like, increase the function, because like state helps you to re-render the your app component. So any change in the state happens, like here the change in the state happens, that is the set count, count plus one. So whenever there is any change in the state, it causes the component, the whole component, to re-render that component, like inside the component where the state is present, it re-renders that component. So as you can see here, our counter works perfectly. So that was about state, and let's revert it. We were going to use the API. So cool. Let's just def and oh, I have the meme pad component. Hello world, cool. We are good till now. Let's use the use effect. So basically you can see the use state and use effect. So these are called as hooks. Hooks are basically the how can I define it? These are the type of functions that allows you to access the state and modify it. So before the invention of React hooks, we used to have the lifecycle methods in the class type, like class based components. So this you can see is a functional based components. So class based components are also a thing in React, and it also does the same thing but in terms of classes. So here we use functions and there we use classes, but you can use any one of them. It works totally fine. The only difference is like the class based components have a little extra boilerplate code, but the functional based component are pretty straightforward. So yeah. Okay, so I personally like to use Axios to deal with uh, APIs. We can also use fetch if you are like familiar with JavaScript, because you can see everywhere we are using JavaScript. So that's why I said earlier that the more you have a strong grip on JavaScript, the better you are in React. So yeah, JavaScript matters a lot here. Okay, so the use effect hook is basically other type of hook with the help of which we can re-render the component on the basis of our needs. Like if we want to re-render the component in the starting itself, like uh, in the complete beginning, you can do that. Suppose if a certain state, like you want to re-render the component when a certain state is updated, then also you can do that with the use of use effect. So yeah, that's basically to re-render the component on the basis of our needs. So let me use effect here. Mm. So this is the basic syntax of use effect hook. So here I'll be doing axios dot get. So here they have provided their public API. So you can use this to. Oh, let me close this for now. Axios dot get and cool. So uh, so this returns a promise and then you do promise chaining. So dot get returns a promise and then you do to get the response. So let me console log the response as of now. And then if some error happened, like their server is down, so you can't reach to their API, or you're like you somehow lost your internet connection, so at that time it will uh, execute this block, that is the catch block, and let us console log the error through. Yeah, cool. So let us save it and let us open our console. Okay, we are getting something. See, here we have our console here. How can we? Yeah, we have our console here, and we have something like an object consoled out. So that is basically the result. This line. So this is being console logged here. As you can see inside the data, we have the data object, then memes, which is basically an array of 100 objects. So inside, like if you take a single object, for example, you have ID, you have name. You must have heard about the Drake Hotline Bling. So it's that meme, and it has the image to that meme also, and width, height, box box count. I'm not exactly sure what is that, but yeah, as of now, let's fetch this data. So for that, this is the response object, and what do you do if we do response dot data? Response dot data. Okay, another dot data dot memes. So this is the actual like uh, while debugging, I usually prefer console.log because yeah, it helps. It always helps. So as you can see, we have all the memes here. Like an object of objects, you might say. So oh, sorry, it's an array of objects. So uh, cool. So we have now got the console log. Now we have to store the data somewhere. So for that, of course, we'll be using state. So let's do again the use state thing. Um, will be like having here memes and set memes. So we have a state called memes and its update function as set memes, and we have its initial value as an empty array. So what we do is now after like we got this, let us actually update the state here. Um, we have the console log here, and then we have set memes as this particular value, that is res.data.memes. So now we have got our state which contains all the memes. Now what we have to do is okay, so now I want to show you what are props. Uh, we have seen what are states and hooks. Now I'm going to show you what are props. So as you can see, we have here like in each object we have a field called as ID and name and URL. So for now, let us use name and the URL only in the component. So return if then let me uh, put an img tag here, and src will be some random. Okay, what happened? Non-boolean attribute src. Oh, cool. So what you can do is some random images from Google. Take this one. Mm, mm, mm. Oh, what did it open? Open image in new tab. It looks like a pretty complicated image. Ooh, why is it so hard for me to find a random image? Okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to go and uh, okay. Um, Let me take some image from here only. Hmm, object, object. Yeah, here we go. We have the link to the image. Oh, thank God. Um, we have SRC and alt is meme maybe. Okay, cool. So Here you can see, uh, let us do a h3, and here I am going to put Drake Hotline link. Cool. So this is our meme card component, which we are importing it in our app.js. Let me close this one. Okay, let me open it in another window. So as you can see, this is the pretty famous meme, that is the Drake Hotline Bling. So you can see here is the Drake Hotline Bling that I just wrote in h3 tag in memecard.jsx, and this is the image. So we have that here. Uh, so now, uh, you must be wondering, like, we have 100 entities here, so we have to write a memecard.jsx component for each of the 100 entities. But no, fortunately React provides a concept of props. So uh, what we can do is, just let me show you real quick. Here is the memecard.jsx, but I'm going to remove it for now. And what I will do is, I'll take the state. We have the meme state here. So I'll do memes dot map. So map is a JavaScript array function. You must be familiar with map. So that's why I say that the like JavaScript is very important in order to learn React. So I'll take a singular meme object which will uh, return here meme card component, and here what I'll do is I'll uh, give a prop. Prop is basically short form for properties. So as you can see, we have too many properties, like too many things to pass to the like that meme card.jsx component. uh okay, yeah, we have the name property, url property and stuff. So I'm going to pass link as a prop. Basically in the left hand side, the name will be a prop, and the in the right hand side, it will be a value. So for that I'm going to give meme dot uh, what was it, meme dot url. Cool. Meme dot url, and name, I'll pass another prop which will be which will be meme dot name. Okay, so we have got that here. And what we can do in memecard.jsx is, basically we can extract those props. Like you can see here, I've passed link and name two props. So what I can do here is I can extract those two props, link and name. And in case of src, I can pass here link. And in case of alt also, I can put pass here name. And in case of the h3, I'm gonna pass name. So as you can see, let me open the new window. You can see all the memes here. I mean, the style is definitely the issue because we haven't styled it. But you can see all the results that we got are being rendered with a few lines of code. So that is basically the advantages of React. Oh, we are running over time, but I hope that's not an issue. Siddharth, are you still
No,
there?
not at all. Not at all. We are enjoying the
Okay.
memes.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Me too. So, as you can see here, we have got all the memes. Basically, the API had sent us. So you can see the amount of code that we had to write to basically render all this stuff. So that's what the specialty of React, I would say, and I love React for these amazing features. Uh, so yeah, that was the first part. That is beginner's guide to React. Now let us see how to integrate it. Like it will be quick now because just one thing remains. So now let us go to style components. So let me install style components real quick. Yeah, I have installed style components, and the thing I was talking about, that is the CSS in JS libraries. But let me look at the chat right now. Okay, okay, cool. We are good till now. So here is the meme card component, and let us import style from style components. So I have imported style components here, and uh, okay, we have to style this one too. Okay, let me style the outer thing first. Yeah, let me do that here. So what we essentially do in CSS and JS libraries is we basically write CSS in our JavaScript folder itself, like in the JSX or JS file. We write the CSS too. So it will be like if you're working on a specific part of a UI, you write the logic in the same part as well as the style in the same part. So in that way, you can break the whole website into smaller parts and you can work on them separately. So that has an added advantage. So how to use is you write like style is the object I imported from the style components, is the default export of style components. And with this we have like all the types of HTML elements that we use normally in HTML. But now we require like the outer element is div, so we require a div. So I wrote style.div. If you wanted h1 element, you can write style.h1 or style.img, any type of element. Like a valid HTML element works fine for the style component. So inside that this one we can write the pretty much the normal CSS that we used to write. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give some height to this. Also my CSS sucks, so please bear with me. uh 300 pixel. Let's give the width also 300 pixel, and let's give the object uh fit cover. uh, and so basically this is a styled component of type h1 of type div. So I'm gonna write it here. So wrapper is a styled component of type div. So this is basically if like we can use this wrapper component in the same way as we use div in React. So here I have written div, so I can just replace with it with a wrapper, and here also wrapper. And you can see all our images are resized into like 300 into 300 pixels. So this is what is the like what do we call as the CSS in JS libraries, because you write CSS inside the JS. So that was basically about what do you say, the pretty much about the CSS in JS libraries. And let us style them a bit more because our H3 has gone behind the image. So for that, um, instead of giving this to, let us, how is it looking right now? Uh-oh. Okay, I think we messed up a bit. Mm, let's see. Height 100 pixels. Uh, And let's also make a image uh, container and style if let's give it let's do this as height 400 pixels and image container as image container is a div, and we can give it object cover and basically use this image container div uh, around the image tag. So like this. And where did our h3 go? H3 is index and okay, we have this here. Under this we can give it heading, and let's change the closing tag also to heading. We have this. Okay. Okay. Just stay with me for a little bit more. Uh, Let me copy the import from here to here and slide style dot oh, container equals style dot def. Let's display them as grid and grid template columns as repeat uh, 3 comma unfr, and let's replace this div as container d and v. So I think, oh wow, okay, I know what's happening. Instead of with auto, let's give cells. Whew. CSS always sucks. Object fed contain. Okay, okay. At least we got something. No,
I
basically you
think we
get the
can
idea.
also I think we can also get rid of the hide from the outermost div.
This one.
Yes, I think that might solve.
Come on, Param, jump onto the stage and let's debug this CSS.
This is something we do commonly, by the way.
Yes. Uh, Still, it's not helping.
I think I have another idea. Can we go for the image width? So for the image tag, can you set width equal to
Okay,
50%?
okay. We can.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. const image equals to style img, and height is, let's give it 300 pixels, and width also 300 pixel. Let's see what it actually does. Instead of img we can give image. Ooh, yeah, we did it. We kind of did it. Okay, we can give a border to the wrapper, border to pixel, hashtag 000, and sorted, and a margin maybe. Margin will be 10 pixel auto. Looks kind of, how do I say it? Um, okay, object for, no, I think if I give this, I don't know, but this image is too long, so I have to do something with it. But yeah, this is for the viewers to debug. Um, that's about it, people. Hope you hope you have a hope you learned something from this tutorial. Um, that was it. I'll also link all these resources, and Param actually, he maintains a repository where all the information about all the workshops are put together, and I'll also share the link of the presentation as well as this project code. I might share it now too, but yeah, I'll share the link of both of these to Param, and he'll update it in the repository. So that was all about it. And after, in the end, I have some links which will help you get started with React. Uh, the official documentation of React, reactjs.org, roadmap.sh is a really great place, and it has a well designed roadmap for all type of things, maybe front end development, back end development, React, or maybe DevOps. So it has all of this. Also, if you are into tutorial type of things, you can also watch free code camp tutorial on YouTube. I've put the link to it through. And if you want to buy a course, which I specifically don't recommend, because everything in the internet is available for free, so you should make use of that. But if you still want to buy a course, then I would suggest Udemy course by Stephen Grider, which is the complete React and Redux course. Redux is basically a state management library. It is a vast topic in itself, so yeah, you can definitely take that course. It's well structured. Also, I'm a big fan of Kenzie Dot, so he has an epic React course, so that is also awesome. And after that, in the end, we have the awesome React GitHub, like the awesome like we have everything for in GitHub, right? The all the type of awesome projects or stuff. So for React, you can find it here, GitHub. Okay, let me take a look at the chat section. um, um how why do you have the anti-test portal extension? No, I was just testing it out. Okay. How's the React by Maximilian on Udemy? Yeah, it's a great course too. I've heard a lot of positive reviews regarding it. So yeah, it's recommended. That course, definitely worth it. Cool. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Any questions or queries?
So
Hi,
it was
Siddharth.
it was such an amazing and funny workshop. We enjoyed a lot, especially building the meme application. I think that will serve as an inspiration to many other developers over here. And we had so many people from your community here as well. And
Yeah,
today's
I can
motto
see the
is,
chat section.
I think today's motto is going to be Pritish OP, because that's what has been spammed all around in the comments so far.
Thank you, folks, for joining. Actually means a lot.
And we have a couple of questions for you, Pritish. So now we'll have a
Mhm.
small Q&A round. The
Yeah.
first question we have is, so you mentioned CSS and JS libraries, and we talked about Babel, how it converts the JSX that we write into normal JavaScript for the web applications. Is it
Mhm.
possible? So there are many CSS and JS libraries out there. If I don't want to use React, but I still want to use those libraries, is it possible to use the CSS and JS libraries in vanilla JS projects?
In vanilla JS projects. Um, so what the CSS in JS libraries does is it's specifically meant for the component level styling. So if you're using vanilla JS, then I think you are using plain HTML and CSS. So for that, I have never used or never heard of anyone using CSS and JS libraries for vanilla HTML and CSS. Yeah, but it's a good topic to research on. I'll definitely research on it a bit more. But yeah,
Mhm.
these libraries you can use in other JS frameworks like Vue, Angular, Svelte, Remix also, which is pretty new. So yeah.
And you just mentioned a couple of other frameworks. So while creating the React application, we used Create React App. But
Mhm.
Create React App often results in such bulky applications. Are there any alternatives to it?
Okay, so there is an alternative because React provides a lightweight CDN. CDN is basically how you use the bootstrap thing in HTML CSS. So that type of CDN. So using that CDN, you can like pretty much write the same React applications.
Mm-hmm. I see. And since CSS is going to be hard for many people out there, we mostly tend to rely on many component libraries that we already have out there.
Mhm.
And since we already saw such a great portfolio that you have developed, and you have been doing React for a long time, what are your preferences in terms of the UI component libraries available for React?
Uh, okay, so there are it can be divided into two types: the UI component library. One is the CSS and JS libraries, which are essentially the plain old CSS, but in the form of a component level architecture. So in that one, you have to write CSS from scratch. But there are some other libraries such as Material UI or Chakra UI or React Strap. So what these are like in the latest version of Material UI, you can also use Material UI components wrapped with style components or Emotion. Emotion is basically another CSS and JS library. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those things are pretty awesome because you don't have to write CSS from scratch, and your components will be ready with just a single line of import. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty
I see.
awesome.
And in React, a while ago you mentioned class components and functional components. Can you tell us more about them? When and why we should prefer which?
Uh, okay, that has been a question to me too. Like even I am also what do I say? Searching over internet for articles on this debate, when to use which type of component. Uh, but yeah, at the moment, even I don't know uh, the
Okay.
answer to this.
And when we initialize the application, it by default creates functional components. So we understand that there is probably a preference for functional components in most cases.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Because like I have used class-based components, but the thing is in class-based components you can use hooks because you get the lifecycle methods there. And if I were to say, if you like are a big fan of oops, then I think you might like class-based components. But if you're not a big fan of oops, then I think functional component are pretty minimal to write as well as to understand.
I see. And this is a really wonderful answer because the object-oriented versus functional debate is going to be carried on. A few days later, we are probably going to have a workshop on functional programming.
Oh,
So stay tuned for that.
that
and
sounds totally exciting.
and we see that last time we had a view workshop. It was a really nice workshop with Raheel, and the whole workshop we just talked about view and why view is great. But we can't deny the fact that despite having so many competitors, React is currently the world's most popular front-end web development framework.
Yes.
What do you think makes it the most popular framework?
Um, I think like I am not eligible to answer this because I have only tried out a single JS framework, that is React. But if I were to explore any other frameworks in like in the future, uh, then I guess I'll be eligible to comment on this.
Hmm.
But as
In
I
fact,
said, like the vast number of features that React provides. So I don't know about other frameworks, but React sure does provides a hell lot of features.
Hmm, definitely. Yeah, that's probably the reason why we talk about front end web development, the first thing that comes to us is React.
Mhm.
And last time we asked this question to Raheel as well. So if you have to deploy a React application online, what platforms will you prefer?
Okay, I probably missed this. Yeah, I was going to say. So we have couple of platforms where we can deploy our React applications, or if your project uses some frameworks built on top of React, that is Gatsby or Next.js, so you can deploy it on a couple of platforms. Like first one, I would say Versal. So Versal, sorry, let's start from the scratch. So first one, I would say GitHub Pages. So GitHub by default allows us to deploy client side applications which doesn't use server or backend, so we can deploy those websites on GitHub Pages. So that's first. Second one is my favorite, that is Versal. So Versal is pretty famous for deploying Next.js applications, which is basically a framework built on top of React, but it also supports deployment of React and Gatsby as well. So the second one would be Versal, and third one is Netlify. So Netlify is also really great, and I think it has some restrictions on deployment of Next.js apps, but for React it works pretty smooth. So
Hmm.
these three are the my preferred platforms. And if you are specific to Gatsby, like if you are like developing or working on a project which uses Gatsby, then I would recommend trying out Gatsby Cloud, because that's their own hosting platform and it's also available for free. So yeah, it's also
Hmm.
pretty awesome.
I think Gatsby Cloud is the new name that I heard today. I have tried the other ones in the past, and they work pretty well for other frameworks as well. Raheel last time talked about Netlify because that was his preference, but
Mhm.
I think there's probably a library gh-pages in npm, which is what we use for deploying to GitHub Pages the React applications. Also, by the way, now that we are talking about npm, we noticed that you used you mentioned different package managers. So since there are going to be lots of React developers out there, why do you prefer Yarn over npm?
Uh, okay, so there's no specific reason. It might be just me, but I have used both npm as well as yarn. But when like I have used yarn for 8 to 10 months, and after that I switched to sorry, I've used npm for 8 to 10 months, and after that I switched to yarn. After switching to yarn, I noticed that while installing dependencies, the time taken to install those dependencies are faster in yarn than npm. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, it sure is fast. I
Hmm.
think so. So that's why
I
I
see.
use. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for the questions. We have lots of compliments in the comments. You can check them out. And thank you very much for doing this workshop. We'll share the presentation and the links and the project
Mhm.
URL as well in the end. We are looking
Right.
forward to having you at our community more often, Pritish. It was really nice being with you. If you
Same
want
here.
an interaction session with the students here, we can also have that later on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
uh,
I'd love to.
and I think now that I have seen your project, I might feel the need to go and do some React myself. So thank you very much for
Sure.
the workshop, Pratish.
Thank you. I had so much fun in this workshop.
Really nice having you. See you all again. Bye.
Cool. Bye bye.